Hey guys, Jason the Lazy Heretic here with another weekly devotion, and the weekly devotion has there's going to be two this week because I missed out on last week after the week before saying that I was wanting to get back to doing a weekly one, so I have to apologize for that one as well. But and again, this one is number 3 of a video series of 5 that I was supposed to finish off like 2 months ago, so apologies for that as well. This is the third set of 4 things that I've learnt over 16 years in ministry, and it's numbers 9, 10, 11 and 12 9, 10, 11 and 12 that we've learnt over 16 years in ministry. And I wrote a blog post on that, and I'm going to link to the in the description underneath in the video description. But the 4 things, if you haven't read the blog post, and if you have, then that's great, but it was probably 2 months ago that I posted it. So the first thing is that study in ministry, study is important. The second thing is that distractions are everywhere and they're always going to be a problem. And the third thing is that you can't please everyone in ministry, and you're not going to be able to do that. And the fourth thing is God works in the little everyday things. And as you know from these videos, I normally just pick out one thing that I want to focus on to talk about, and there's actually a couple of things that I want to do for this one, and I'll do the shorter one first so that then we can get into the longer one and talk about that. But the first thing, which is really the second thing that I want to draw out of the video, out of the post for this video, is that there are always going to be distractions. They're everywhere and they're always going to be a problem, and they just seem to have gotten worse and worse as the years have gone by. Back when I started in ministry in 2002, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter. I can't even remember if there was YouTube where we were. There wasn't high-speed internet. There was dial-up, and you kind of, had that. So for those of you who are old enough to remember dial-up internet, it was over the phone line, and if you wanted to use the phone, you had to disconnect from the internet. And so there wasn't that many distractions, but there were enough. There was still email, there was still phone calls, there was still people dropping by, and the balance that you really have to strike is that sometimes in ministry, which is a people thing that you want to focus on, it's about people, it's about ministering to people. Sometimes the people are actually the distraction, and they can distract you from the more important work of the ministry that you're called to. So it's about making sure that you keep the main thing, and not trying to worry too much about the walk-ins off the street. Sometimes it's not a distraction, it's an emergency, it's a pastoral care situation, it's something like that, and those are the times that you need to act and you need to do the work of the ministry, and that's not a distraction. But sometimes it is, when people just come off the street and they just kind of want to chat for 2 hours of your time, and that's time that you could be doing something else. So there are lots of distractions. They're always going to be a problem, but the main thing that I wanted to talk about, which is probably going to end up being about equal time in this video now, is that study is really, really important. And in the post I talk about how it really surprises me, and it has surprised me the whole time, that there are lots of people who think that deep, rich, theological, guided, directed, official kind of accredited study is not important in ministry. If you want to be in ministry, you don't really need to go to a theological institution and do study. You can just kind of pick it up as you go. You can read articles, you can read study Bibles, you can spend your time watching sermons on YouTube, or watching devotionals, or reading articles from your favorite magazines and things like that, or your favorite blogs, and you can get by on that. But really, if you want to be effective in ministry, you need to be exposed to things that you disagree with, things that that force you to think deeply about what it is you believe and why it is you believe it, and how it is you can explain that to someone who comes to you for advice or has a difficult life situation. Or how does your theology and the things that you believe translate into everyday life in the context of ministry? And that's what theological education does. And so I really would encourage you, if you're thinking of going into ministry, go to a theological university. Don't necessarily do a short course or a correspondence course or something like that. Go to a reputable institution. I remember at a church that I worked at, there was a guy who was promoted to the role of associate senior pastor. This was a pretty big church of about 2,000 people. Well, in New Zealand, that's a big church, but. And he was talking with another guy who thought that, oh, maybe I was in the running for that job, and I don't understand why I didn't get it. And he just turned to him and said, did you really think that you were in the running for that job? Did you honestly think that? I mean, I have got a PhD from a reputable theological university in the States, and I have spent the last 16 years working in ministry and being in charge of a not-for-profit parachurch ministry organization. And this other guy was a taxi driver with no theological education. And so you kind of go, yeah, I can understand that, but in his mind, the theological education wasn't as important. And so I really want to encourage you, if you are thinking of going into ministry, take it seriously. Go and check out some theological universities. Make sure you ask around, ask your trusted mentors and people who you know will give you good advice to get you on the path to doing that and succeeding, because it's really important to do study. I mean, I used to joke when I only had a diploma of biblical studies, and another guy on staff, a junior staff member, did the same qualification as me, and we joked that we were the most theologically qualified people on a staff of 20. And it was true. Most of them were bank managers who just decided to be pastors, and accountants who decided to be pastors, and business owners who decided to be pastors, and just thought that was all you needed was some life experience. And that's great. You do need life experience, but if you want to really encourage and form people as Christians, you need to have that deep, rich, historical theological education. So that would be my encouragement to you guys. And as I said, I'm going to upload a second video probably in the next 48 hours or so. So keep an eye out for that. But hopefully this is the last time that I'll have to do this, and I'll be getting back on track as we go through the year. So God bless you guys, and we look forward to seeing you again in a little while. Take care.